Alright, boys and girls, here we have lesson 7.5. We're going to evaluate algebraic expressions and formulas. Our objective is I can evaluate algebraic expressions and formulas. So let's get started here. So here's a little table that I made, and if x equals 1, let's see, here's my laser. If x equals 1, and we're looking at the expression x plus 5, we're going to substitute 1 in here for the x. X is equal to 1, so that means we have, let me switch the pen here, 1 plus 5, and it would equal 6. So a lot of this algebraic expressions and when we're evaluating, we're just plugging in numbers to represent different numbers. So it's not too difficult, and if you can understand that process, then this lesson will go very easily for you. So let's try the next one. If x equals 2, then we substitute 2 in for x plus 5, and then we would have 7 as our value. If x equals 3 plus 5, and then we would have 8 as the value, and of course if x equals 4 plus 5, then our value would be 9. So that is a very basic and simple way to explain how we're going to be doing these formulas. So sometimes they get a little bit trickier because the expressions can be longer. So here we have the instructions to evaluate the expression for the given value of the variable. So here, just to kind of go over those terms, here's your expression, here's your variable, and they gave you the value of 14 for your variable. So what we're going to do is we're going to say m equals 14. So whenever we see an m in our problem, we're going to substitute the word or the number 14 in for the m. So we only have one m in this problem. Let's go ahead and rewrite it. I have 4 times m, and I'm going to substitute 14, subtract 8, divided by 3. Then I'm going to go back to my skills of 7.2 and do order of operations. I'm going to do parentheses first. 4 times 14 minus 8 is 6, divided by 3. Then I'm going to multiply straight and divide from left to right. So 4 times 6 is 24, divided by 3. 24 divided by 3 equals 8, and we just keep solving until we have no more operations and we just have our answer. So that is what our expression equals when the value of m is 14. Now it's possible that they could have given us a different value here, maybe 12, maybe 300, and it would have changed the value of the expression. But when m equals 14, the answer is 8. So let's try this next one. Here we have 3 times y squared plus 2. Now this is not an x variable, it is a multiplication times sign. So sorry if that's a little confusing, it does look like an x variable, but it is a multiplication sign. So we have 3 times y squared plus 2. And they say that our value of our variable y equals 4. So every time we see a y in our expression, we're going to substitute the 4 instead of the y. So let's rewrite it. We have 3 times, now y is going to be replaced by a 4 squared. Again, I'm replacing that y with a 4 because of what it told me here, y equals 4, plus 2. Do my parentheses first. Inside of my parentheses, I have an exponent. Remember, I'm doing 4 squared, which is 4 times itself, which is 16. Plus 2. 3 times 16 plus 2 is 18. So then I have 3 times 18, which equals 54. So you'll notice that once I've substituted y in for the value of 4 that they gave us here, then I just solved it like we've been practicing with the order of operations. Of course, remembering parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide, and then add at the end, unless it's in those parentheses like it is here. Okay? And then we have 54. So whenever y equals 4, the answer is 54. If y had been another number like maybe 6, maybe 10, our answer would have been very different. We still could have solved it. It would have just been a different answer. And that is the joy of algebra, because then we can use this for multiple things, whatever it is representing in the real world. Alright, here's your turn to try it. So evaluate the expression with the given value. You have w plus 6. And in this situation, w equals 11. Remember to solve these problems on the right side of your notebook so that I can check them when you check your work with me. So if we go ahead and solve this, and we substitute in our w for 11, then we have 11 plus 6. We only have two terms here with no variables or coefficients, so 11 plus 6 is 17. Pretty simple. Go ahead and try this one on your own in your notebook, and then watch the video for the response. Okay, so if I substitute 5 in here for h, now I have 5 minus 3, and then I'm going to square all of it. 5 minus 3 gives me 2, and then I have 2 squared, and that's 2 times 2, which would equal 4. And there's my answer for that problem. Now remember, if at any time you have questions, feel free to raise your hand and I can come over and help explain this to you in a different way, or maybe just slow it down and work through it together. Okay, here's another one. Now you'll notice while you're solving this one, there are two variables in this problem. There's an m and an n, but they also gave you a value for m and n. So try it on your own, then I'll show you how to solve it. Okay, so hopefully you were able to do this on your own. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute 7, I'm going to do 7, and then m is also 7. Now remember, when these are right close to each other, it's the same as multiplying. So it's like 7 times 7 minus 9 times 5. Now I'm going to multiply first and then do my subtraction after I do all my multiplication. 7 times 7 is 49, minus 9 times 5 is 45, and then I subtract, giving me an answer of 4. Alright, just a couple more things in this lesson. You guys have heard of formulas before, but here's a definition that I want you to write on the right side of your notebook. A formula is a set of symbols that expresses a math rule. So, for example, we know that there's a rule to solve for perimeter, and that is called a formula. The formula to solve for perimeter of a rectangle is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, or length plus width plus width, adding up all of the sides. You guys have seen that before. So, for example, if I had a rectangle here, and here's my length, those are cursive L's. Here's my width. To find the perimeter, you would just add all of those sides together, right? So the formula, the official formula, is I'm going to take 2 of my lengths, which are the same for a rectangle, and then I'm going to add them to 2 of my widths. And that's how I solve the formula. So you could plug these numbers in and solve it, but I'm actually on the next slide, I'm going to show you an example. So let's go ahead and go there. So here again, the formula for perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Gives the perimeter P of a rectangular room with length L and width W. So here's where the actual problem is. A rectangular room is 26 feet long and 21 feet wide. We see those words and we automatically think length, length, and width. So what is the perimeter of the room? So just like we were solving earlier, to find the perimeter, we can just plug those numbers in. I have 2L, or 2, times 26, plus, and then 2W, 2, times 21. And if I solve these, I can find the perimeter of the room. Now, could I have done 26 plus 26 plus 21 plus 21? Yes, I could have. It's the same thing. There's just another way to do it. Okay, so then I just do 2 times 26, which gives me 52. Oops. 52. Plus 2 times 21, which gives me 42. Add those together, and I have 94 feet. So that is another way to solve for perimeter. Instead of just adding all the sides, we can put it into the formula and solve for the perimeter of that rectangular room. Okay, here's the last one for this lesson. Now it's given you another formula. You're going to try this one on your own. The formula, and you don't have to write down the whole problem, just make sure you write in your notebook the formula itself and then what value they've given you. So the formula for C equals 5 times F minus 32 divided by 9 gives the Celsius temperature in C degrees for a Fahrenheit temperature in F degrees. What is the Celsius temperature for a Fahrenheit temperature of 122 degrees? Now before you try this, I'm going to break it down a little bit for you. We know that here in America we do Fahrenheit temperatures, but in a lot of the world they do Celsius. So this is the formula to convert between the two so that you know. So if they gave you here the Fahrenheit of 122 degrees, you're looking to find how many degrees is that in Celsius. And you can plug it into this formula and it will give you the Celsius. Go ahead and try it on your own. Okay, hopefully you paused the video and tried it on your own. Let's see how we did. So I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know my Celsius. That's what I'm looking for. That's okay. So I'm going to rewrite the problem, or the formula. C equals 5 times, I do know my Fahrenheit, 122 minus 32 divided by 9. So now I'm going to take the parentheses first. 122 minus 32. Oops, it's kind of hard to read. And that gives me 90. Okay, now I have 5 times 90 divided by 9. Well, 5 times 9 is 45. Add a 0 on the end, that's 450 divided by 9. Well, 9 goes into 45 5 times, add a 0, and it is 50 degrees Celsius. Feel free to re-watch that. Hopefully you got it right. And once again, if you have any questions on any of this, you can raise your hand. I'll come and help you. I'll help explain it. We can walk through the problems together. And you will also have a lot of practice with this, plugging those numbers in and finding the value of the expression. So make sure you really understand this concept before we move on.